Hey guys, it's Mrs. Willoughby. What's that you say? I have a giant cheese on my head? Yes, I do. I am a cheesehead, meaning I am a Packers fan, so I have a big giant cheese on my head for today. If you aren't a Packers fan, you can still watch the video because we are going to learn today about suffixes. We've learned a lot about prefixes throughout the school year, but we didn't quite get into suffixes to the extent that I would like when we were together. So this video focuses on using suffixes to help you figure out tricky words. So let's get right to it. So again, our focus is suffixes. Learning target would be I can define and use those three suffixes, which we'll get into in just a moment. As a reminder, a suffix is a letter or a group of letters added to the end of a word that changes the meaning. Prefix was at the beginning, suffix is at the end. Today, we're going to focus on the three suffixes that we saw at the beginning in our learning target. ly, less, and full. So ly, less, and full. Let's dive into what each of those mean first before we use them with words. So the first one was ly or ly, and this one means when it's added to the end of the word, it means it tells how something is done or how often something is done. So an example of that would be quickly. If I walked quickly into the kitchen to get some food, that means the way that I did it was quick, okay? I'm spending a lot of time in the kitchen lately, either baking or eating snacks. It's just the way that it goes when you're home all the time. The next one is less. So that means that you're without something. So an example of that would be if I cleaned the house so that it was spotless. That means that there are no spots of dirt anywhere in my house. I cleaned it really, really well. It's without dirt or without spots. Another suffix that we will be focusing on today is full. And when that's added onto the end of the word, it means to be full of something. So if I am hopeful, then I am full of hope. If I am joyful, then I am full of joy. That one's a pretty easy one to remember. So let's do some examples starting with ly. So as a reminder, it's how something is done or how often something is done. Here are some examples in sentences. Sarah completed the math sheet correctly. She did it. She has it correct. Chris promptly returned to the phone. How did he go to the phone? Prompt. Quick. Jenny read her book quietly in her room so her mom could work. How did she read her room? It was quietly, quiet. Okay. And Matt and Sam had to go in the store separately. So how did they go to the store? They were separate. A non-example would be like in the word or in the name Lily. So I see the ly at the end, but it's a name of a person or a flower, and it's just how it's spelled. It doesn't change the meaning. So if I take off the ly and there's not a root word there, it's not a word that makes sense. Li isn't a word on its own, so that's not going to be a suffix. So that's really a tip with any of these suffixes. If you were to take off the suffix, those few letters at the end, and it doesn't make a root word, then that's really not going to help you, okay? So let's look at some examples of less in a sentence. Less, as a reminder, means without something. So some examples of that. Melanie was speechless when she won the contest. If she's speechless, that means she's without speech. The fool's gold was worthless. So I take off the less, I have worth. That means it's without worth. It's not worth anything. Tom made the backflip look effortless. If I take off the less, effort, it's without effort. So he did the backflip without any effort at all. It was really easy for him. The animal shelter cared for the defenseless puppy. Again, if I take off less, I have defense. If it's without defense, that means it can't take care of itself. So the puppy didn't have a way to care for itself. The animal shelter had to do that for it. Non-example would be in the word bless. Less, again, is part of the word. If I take that less off, I just have B. B is not a real word. So it does not change the meaning of the word. It's just a part of how you spell the actual word. And finally, we'll take a look at full. As a reminder, that means to be full of something. So examples of full in a sentence. Daniel drew a very colorful piece of art. So the artwork was full of color. Sophia's dancing was very graceful and fun to watch. It was full of grace. Jeff was helpful when his mom wasn't feeling well. Take off the full, I still have help, so he was full of help. The tools we bought to fix our deck were useful. Take off the full, use, it was full of use. So we're going to read, and I'm going to take my face off so that you can see the whole thing. Nope. You're going to find all of the words when I read this story. It's called Hallie's Day. You're going to listen along, and then you're going to try and find all of the words that have the prefix of ly, less, or full. And I want you to write them down. So if you don't have a paper or something to write with and write on, then I want you to go to pause the video and go grab that right now so that you're ready to write those down. Okay, now that you have your materials, I'm going to read through it, and I'm going to read through it twice. If you need to read through it more than twice, then absolutely pause and read through it again. That's the great part about a video, is you can take as much time as you need. So I will read through it twice, and then I'll move on with my with what I found and my thinking of how we can figure those prefixes out. So here's Hallie's Day. One day, Hallie was lazily lounging on the couch. When her mom saw that Hallie had not done any of her work, she was speechless. Hallie felt remorseful and wanted to make it right. She knew what she needed to do. Hallie had to start her schoolwork and chores quickly. She started with math. Hallie worked steadily and completed the work in no time. Then Hallie decided to work on reading her book. She happily read the book and even wrote down some notes to show her mom. Finally, Hallie did all her chores. Her energy felt endless. Hallie couldn't wait to show her mom. Her mom was thankful. It was a wonderful way to end the day. So if you haven't already, start writing down the words with any of those prefixes on there. Again, I'm going to read through it one more time. And you can always pause and reread or go back and listen to it again if you need help and you need to hear it more than the times that I'm reading now, okay? So looking for ly, less, or full. Hallie's Day. One day, Hallie was lazily lounging on the couch. When her mom saw that Hallie had not done any of her work, she was speechless. Hallie felt remorseful and wanted to make it right. She knew what she needed to do. Hallie had to start her schoolwork and chores quickly. She started with math. Hallie worked steadily and completed the work in no time. Then Hallie decided to work on reading her book. She happily read the book and even wrote down some notes to show her mom. Finally, Hallie did all her chores. Her energy felt endless. Hallie couldn't wait to show her mom. Her mom was thankful. It was a wonderful way to end the day. All right, now we're going to go through, again, if you need to go through it again and pause before you have all of them, then go ahead and do that. We're going to go through and just point out each of those ones. So one of the first ones I saw was lazily. So lazily describes how Hallie was lounging on her couch. So how was she lounging? Lazy. She was being lazy on the couch. The next one that we have is speechless. Speechless here means that she didn't have any words because she was disappointed in her daughter. So she was without words. The next one is remorseful. Remorseful means full of remorse, or she was sorry. Remorse means sorry, so she was full of sorrow. Next is quickly. Quickly describes how she did her chores. It was at a fast pace. The next one is steadily. Steadily means how she did her math work. She was steady. Hallie was probably focused and didn't take any breaks. Next is happily. Happily is how she read her book. She wasn't grumpy about it or bored with it. She felt happy when she was reading her book. The next one is finally. Final means last. So the last thing she did on her chores were around, or the last thing she did was her chores around the house. And then our next one is endless. Endless means that there was no end to her energy. She could have kept going on forever. Next is thankful. Her mother was full of thanks. She was grateful that her daughter did her chores. And then our final one that was in there was wonderful. And wonderful, it means that the day was full of wonders and that she got all of her work done. So you were able to find those different words with suffixes in them, and hopefully that helped you define those words and know exactly what they mean. I challenge you today and this week, or really anytime you're reading, to try and find any of our suffixes or maybe some other suffixes that you know in something that you read this week. So see if you can maybe do that. That's all I have for you today. I know it was a little bit longer of a video, but thanks for your hard work. I miss you. I hope to see you soon, and I'll see you next week.